next speaker, I would like to invite Lia Perjovschi, who will tell us about her created and established Contemporary Art Center and Center for Art Analysis, which functions since '85 and is still ongoing. And also the Knowledge Museum, and yeah. So just shortly about Leah. Leah is an artist from Romania and lives in Sibiu at the moment. And so she has developed this contemporary art archive and Center for Art Analysis, collecting and gathering different facts and culture evidences on art events and focusing also on critique and cultural analysis.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy. For the first time in Riga, I like to see things, new things, and so on. So I'm coming from Romania. I grew up till 29 years old during the communist time. Romania, you know, from 80s was quite isolated, not like you maybe or Poland or whatever. And if you see, if you remember the European map, Romania it's a black hole. It's an image since then. I'm an artist. I study art from 5th grade. I was trained very academic. I had intuition, but no information about contemporary art. So this I will call experiment, using a term from physics. Because I was tired of studying models and still lifes and so on. So let's say, I used to say, from my body to the body of knowledge will be my journey. In 1989 was the revolution, was a big moment, because since then, a little bit my life was changed. I'm still on the street, I'm still engaged political, I'm still fighting in different ways for a democratic society, for democratic institutions, practices, and so on. 1990 was the moment when we start to travel outside. So my archive, it's more about 50s to 90s contemporary art. The things which were missing from my education. When I started to travel, I discovered that this part is really unknown, and I was sure that if I want to be a professional, I need to recuperate very quickly this knowledge. And so we saw a lot of exhibitions, and my husband is also an artist, so we travel a lot and to see Biennale, Documenta, museums, and so on. This will be one of my posters with exhibitions from Europe and United States. Somebody will say, okay, but it's self-colonization. I don't think so. It's like, for me, it's like inventing English language. I mean, you have to learn, not to invent. Of course, I don't borrow things. I was more interested in theory, but because my practice was, in a way, giving me the impression that I'm a kind of artist from West in 50s or 60s who invented a little bit listening his thoughts or feelings and so on. So, but I was not covered by theory. And I was looking for this frame, theoretical frame, to be able to communicate, to have a dialogue with the others. At home, of course, we share with the others because only like that you are able to have discussions. I was reading like crazy to recuperate all these years. And sometimes I was quite disappointed on books I was finding. Here it's a subjective art history with selection of images and texts from books I was reading from 1990 till 2004. So a lot of years. Unfortunately, a lot of books I was reading for nothing. And this makes me nervous because I'm really obsessed with time, and I don't like to lose time. So I'm trying to, through all I find out, I try to make shortcuts for the others. Here will be, I needed to recuperate a kind of frame for the contemporary art. So I start to make timelines on general culture, and I was interested in the biggest context. This will be a timeline on Romanian culture. Of course, you are back and forth, looking, everything, all the books in a way make me look also at home somehow, or understanding better certain things at home. And in 1997, I was trying to organize these materials. Till then was more informal, but in 1997 I started to organize these materials because I started to accumulate a little bit, a lot, on art education, on theory, critical thinking, all this. Our studio was in the yard of the Art Academy, so we had public, but was open really for everybody who wanted. We let everybody know that they can knock at the door anytime. This will be activities in this studio's archive space. What I have are books, catalogs, multiples, postcards, folders, posters, replicas. I'm using them for show and tell. You know, it's easy to mention an exhibition if you have a small brochure, and I'm very selective because I don't have enough space, and the space was all and it is a problem. But also because in 90s, since 90s, we met a lot of curators who were coming like here, also in Romania, looking for different things, and they were overwhelmed with information. And they were like desperate, please give me only 3 names because they make me dizzy, they told me too much. So that's why I had the feeling that it's good to organize a little bit the materials. And I try to make for the public some publications in which to present important things from the archive, ideas or works. Or my exhibitions were all the time low budget, so I was working a lot with publications, books. This will be one of my publications, and here you have materials, you can have a look. I will let them here. So we were trying to be a kind of alternative educational space, because even now they are quite stuck in their way of thinking art education and so on, practice and theory. So I discovered that in time that the archive became for me a kind of self-empowering and a place who could empower the other or create a platform for a very quick platform for contemporary artists and theoreticians, and very quickly they had some directions. The exhibitions were looking more like related issues, and of course were hosting a lot of debates. In 2000, we were moderators of a live program on Romanian television, so I had the chance to go with the Archive of Contemporary Art National. And that was also the moment when I tried to change the name on Center for Art Analysis, because I accumulate a lot, and now I was feeling prepared to be more critical. And in 2000, we heard a rumor that we will have a contemporary art museum. A little bit was too late, because they established a museum of contemporary art in the Parliament Palace. A wrong space, you can imagine. I mean, who wants to be represented by this political frame? Every institution should have his own space, no? And discourse. Of course, they were using us. They tried to use us for a better image in Europe and so on. So we boycott. I and my husband, we boycott this space since the beginning. We even don't step in. Why for? And the guy who, in the left side, you see the prime minister in that time, who liked to hunt like the former dictator, but yeah, in the meantime he was discovered being very corrupt, put it in jail. Maybe you heard, in Romania it's a big corruption, and they don't steal some €1,000 or 100,000 euros, they steal millions euros. So it's a crazy time. Former president, former prime minister, director of the museum, and so on, all looking at details. What else they can do. In 2005, we lost the space in the middle of Bucharest, so that's why we moved to Sibiu, in the middle of Romania. Now, all the time, this archive was private, was based on, established with our monies, my effort, my energy, and so on. And we continue to do this. We were very lucky, in a way, to find solutions. We sold some works. We had a mid-career retrospective in 2007 in the United States, and that's why we were able to build a small space in Sibiu, in the middle of Romania, where is now located the archive. Of course, I have to reorganize everything. I packed, but in a hurry, so for a while it's closed. Only if somebody really needs to see something, needs a book or whatever, they could come, of course. Or now, I mean, in Bucharest was more one-to-one discussion. I asked people who used to come in groups, because it would be more efficient to have a brainstorming. I don't know why they prefer one-to-one. But here in Sibiu, 7 hours by train, I insisted, so they come in groups finally, and it's much better. And also because now we have to pay the building, we don't have time, and we have to work, make a lot of exhibitions and workshops and lectures to pay the building and maintain and so on. In the new space, I have a kind of new project. This will be the Knowledge Museum. It's a collection of museums I was visiting. It's not the museum, it's a project, it's a space, a basic information or knowledge, a starting point. It's based on my interest, interdisciplinary interest, since 1999, when I get tired of art and I wanted to be surprised or have a kind of fresh air, and I was visiting different types of museums. And I was collecting also objects from museum stores, according with the books and reviews I was reading. So I'm not collecting everything, more small things, but they are based on a theoretical, let's say, agenda. This will be the model, maybe. I really want to build a museum, maybe in Sibiu or I don't know where. If not, I'm presenting like an architect this project in exhibitions, and it's giving me the chance to talk about different issues and so on. My research I do in this type of taking notes, like diagrams if you want. This will be more complex. I like the system because it gives me possibility to add in time. So this I started in 1999, and in 2006 somebody wanted badly, so okay, stop like that. It's on identity, subject, and so on. Yeah, the exhibitions will look like that. The Knowledge Museum will have 7 departments, basic things. We are on a planet, we have a body. This body creates culture, science, art, knowledge, and universe. Depends on the space I have. Can be small or bigger, larger, and so on. So, questions.
Thank you, Leah, for your presentation. I had one question just looking at and listening to what you are telling. So the archive, what you have created, it's a live process. It's dynamic. And but then I was just wondering, so the things which you collect for archive, so they stay in archive. You never throw something out. You said you organize things from time to time, but yeah, how did it happen?
I was paying attention since I started to collect materials. So let's say I visit Venice Biennale, you know, they all have multiples to give away or catalogs and so on. I'm looking carefully. I cannot go for monographies. I prefer group exhibition shows and so on. And I'm selecting already in the place I am. For me, you know, I'm not an archive established by an institution. I don't have any obligation to have a collection of all the artists, theoreticians, or whatever. So I'm on my money, my time, my energy, my space. Then I go for my cut. I try to be objective. Nobody is objective. Even the most strict institutions cannot be like that. So we are all subjective in everything we do. But what is interesting for me is to, okay, first was me. I needed theory, I needed to confront what I was doing with what was happening. But in time, yes, I started to be more relaxed. And my practice and reading a lot, studying art and so on for 14 years, I think I can make a quality selection. It's not necessarily only what I like. Could be works which are interesting in debates or they are interesting for bringing some issues. So not necessarily that they are all my cup of tea. Sometimes I donate to the library when I end up having dollars or something. Now, because yeah, I don't want to be stuck in 50s, 90s, the period I was trying to recuperate. I don't want to be stuck in 1996. Of course, I have to come today. So I try to have a basic collection and then and materials, and then come today with the most interesting books on, I don't know, curating, for instance, will be my last book I bought. Yeah.
Why have you chosen term archive and not just collection? In a way, I was not happy after a while because I chose this term. But at the beginning, I was born in this town, Sibiu, in the middle of Romania, and all the time, in my way to school, I was passing to the town archives, which were locked all the time. And I think was with me, this idea of archives. Of course, I was thinking what they will have there, maybe old pictures or, I don't know, official papers and so on. I was thinking that you name like that a collection, and then, I was not planning at the beginning, was developed really very natural, very organic, starting with one book, sharing with the other, going to another one. That's why I named it. And after that, I had to stay because I was talking about the archive and I didn't want to make anybody confused. But when I call the Center for Art Analysis, playing with the same initials,
Actually, I wanted to switch a little bit from the archive. And especially now when seems to be too much and a little bit confusion. And I recycled this archive in my new project. So now it's at the art department, the archive. And yeah, it's the Knowledge Museum who takes over. Now, of course, the next question will be why museum? Of course, because it's a term of with history, and people have something already in mind when you address very quickly this idea, with good and bad.
No, I have two questions, one here and one here. Oh, I'm sorry, is that... No, you just said that next museum will be about museum, but actually my next question is about curating. Because you mentioned that last book which entered in your collection or your archive is about curating, and you also mentioned that you have rights to your personal cut, to this personal point of view. And actually I want to ask, do you feel like really, from my or listening your presentation, I have a feeling that you are acting really as a curator, that this archive becomes your museum, your exhibition. But do you feel like that? Do you feel like curator of this archive, or yeah, it's kind of this utopian museum or non-existing exhibition?
Yes, I became organizer, archivist, curator, theoretician. I became all this, and from time to time when I have possibilities, yeah, I organize an exhibition and so on. But I'm an artist, and my context shaped my practice in this way. So I'm an artist who is doing all this. I don't think that I have to mention that I became a curator, having an archive. Yeah, I was learning a lot, or switching. You know, also, it's general for normal people. We have to be so flexible today. We have to occupy so many positions. To be only an artist, it's not enough. Even in terms of surviving, making money or whatever. So you end up being a teacher also, or collector and so on. But for me, I mean, I'm happy with all these positions, and I learn a lot from each of them. And I understand the other one better. You know, like an artist at the beginning, I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm not good. I mean, I don't know how to talk with curators or art historians, or I don't know. And then doing this archive, I discovered that it's a question of agenda. It's not that the artist in front of me is not good or she's not good. No, it's I have a different agenda, and we are in parallel. That's it. So I understood how the mechanism, you know, because this conflict between artists and curators and art historians and journalists and critics and so on, it's never ending. Actually, it's a misunderstanding. Everybody's looking for something. And because of her education, see things in a certain way. So we have to cool down and go for what we are doing. Don't lose time, because if will be to come together, it will happen. If not, try to find your possibility, and that's why I said it's self-empowering, and I had the chance to empower the others through what I learned. Give me a lot of, yeah, my place.
I find this archival impulse very interesting. Have you thought of what's driving you to think in this archival mode? because I guess for you it's not anymore about structuring the information as such. It seems like it's a mode in which you think or exist. And have you thought of what it is in human nature, or I don't know, in your nature, what makes us to wish or want to structure information and to restructure it and think in this archival mode? I don't think everybody does, but I think you're very great example of being obsessed with this archival impulse.
There will be a lot of answers. You know, even now we don't have a contemporary art museum how I would like to have. So a little bit in my archive, I think I'm trying to be the institution I don't have even now in Romania. Doing the timelines on general culture and so on, I discovered that certain periods were good to focus, to select information, to create encyclopedias and so on. I mean, there were times of discoveries and then times of organizing the materials. And maybe internet helped me a little bit to organize or whatever. I'm a curious person, so I was very lucky to travel and to see things, and I like to share because I want to have partners in discussions and so on. Actually, I don't want, this makes me tired, I don't want only to give. I want to have discussion, dialogue, to talk at the same level. And I knew that not everybody could travel in from Romania or people I know. Then very quickly I want to tell them and show, look what I saw. What do you think? I mean, I can dream looking at a picture or looking at analyzing the title of an exhibition. For me it's enough, so I'm thinking that maybe it's enough for the others too. I didn't go to psychoanalyze this, what I'm doing, because for certain things you need distance, but I wanted, I want to be professional. You don't have any excuse when you met somebody who didn't lost time or was not lost in a period of time which was, I don't know, I call the communism experience a kind of coma. So we were not dead, but not alive. In a way, of course, we had an interesting experience maybe, but I don't know to whom to talk about this. When we started traveling in West, we were like either exotic, and my husband have a drawing on this. I'm not exotic, I'm exhausted. And I like very much. We were really tired of a lot of things. But also, the other one, West, doesn't have to help you. How? I mean, nobody has the time to help the other one because it's not having the time, and I understand now better than ever, the time to help herself or himself. So, professional for me, it's okay. We have an exhibition. We talk about world today. Let's talk about world today. But I don't want to come with naiveties or whatever. So I want to be well informed.
Thank you for your talk. And in the information about your project, you mentioned the activated capsule of knowledge.
Yeah.
What is it?
Voice
voice
activated.
Voice
Yeah.
activated.
All the exhibitions I activate with my voice. I'm explaining, yeah, because all my exhibitions were on different issues and so on. A small selection from the archive on different issues, but all the time I activate elements through my explanation or labels and so on. This is.
Anyway, so we're having the one last question before we go to the lunch break for 1 hour.
Yes. Thank you for your wonderful presentation and very interesting work what you are doing. But in the beginning of your presentation you said that someone is saying that your activity or what you are doing is not self-colonization. And why you think so, and what is your view on your really desire to do what you are doing? In some sense, is it not connected with this historical move from Soviet Union and coming into this, I don't know, Western context? And what is your thoughts and view on this claim or argument about self-colonization?
Georg Schollhammer from Vienna, theoretician, curator, he asked me, you are not afraid that somebody will accuse you that maybe what you do through this archive? Because everybody was expecting to see an archive on Romanian artists. I have also, and I have also a bit from the region, some materials. But on Romania, I couldn't create an archive because I don't like all the artists. So I select some which I like and appreciate, and the rest the institutions have to look for them. But you know, I mentioned in my presentation that it's, from my point of view, looking for the materials, borrowing books from West, let's say, borrowing theories, adapting them. This I see like that. It's like I try to learn English language because now we can communicate instead of establishing English language. Come on, it's done already. So take it and use it. Also, I have a personal story. I did a performance in 1989, really connected with my experience and so on. I lost the negative because in that time I didn't have a photo camera. And in '92, when I was for the first time in Vienna, I discovered some images which were looking similar. And I was so happy that somebody maybe have my negatives. And actually it was Schwarzkogler, was a performer from 60s, Austrian, Viennese Actionismus and so on. And this was a moment when I was happy and very sad in the same time. I was happy because in a way I knew that, okay, it's art what I used to do during the communism and so on. But made me sad because for me it was like I was inventing the table, and the table was having already a long history of design and so on. So I said, okay, now I need to know everything about contemporary art. Never to happen. I was so naive. I'm still appreciating authentic things and originals, and I don't like when I see copies and so on. So although it's difficult to pretend that you can be original, not only now, all the time. Doing my research, I really discovered that the things are invented many, many years in past, but the present could put light on them. So, I don't know, I still work for originality in a way. I try to have my own ideas and so on. So I was suffering because I was not educated, I didn't knew, and I was very close to that artist. Okay, the story is nice, but I will not go into explaining too much, but was a reason to research, to avoid things. So I don't think that I'm only recuperating time, and I encourage people to, I think creativity, it's not like in 19th century understood, something which comes from above in a certain moment of geniality and so on. No, it's hard work, information, reading a lot, studying a lot, and things like that. We combine things, we don't discover things.